Welcome in. Good afternoon. I'm Martin Wenzel. Well, it's good morning, actually, still. Haven't quite gotten afternoon yet. Turn down a little bit. Welcome in. Hope you're having a good day. Finally got to the weekend. A lot of work this past week, and finally get to do a flight here on the world tour. I think I did a flight the other day, offline on a pilot's life, but here we are back with the world tour, and we can see we got Aggie Gray's in-flight catering services working on the plane. Now we're gonna get things set up for a world tour flight 232. We're flying from Nadi, Fiji, over to Apia, Samoa. Be about a two-hour block time, looks like. Everything's good. Right. Let's get things going inside the cockpit here. Kind of got to remember how to do things. Been a while since I've flown the 737. So first we'll go up here. We'll get the battery on. Turn off that music so we can hear all the good stuff. Ground power available. We got that switched to ground power. Or my camera's here. Okay. So just gonna have to forgive me here, just trying to get things, remembering what order to do things in. What I could do, pull up a checklist. That will help too. Always helps. 100 cars, that. Alright, so checklist. Alright, pre-flight, we want to test the oxygen. That's right there. Good. Navigation transfer and display switches, normal and auto. Yeah, I think that's all down here. Window heat on. Pressurization mode selector is an auto. Right there. Flight instruments, heading and altimeter. Parking brake is set. And engine start levers in the cutoff position. Let's go down there. That's all good there. We're looking at the heading and altimeter. Get the altimeter set. Also switch this to HPA since we're not in the US. Got a 1011. Alright, so those are just the checklists. So now we want to go up top and we're going to kind of do get our navigation aligning. Here. And we're going to want to set this flight director on. We'll do that right now so I don't forget. Turn some of the lighting up. Into the flight computer. Get a few of these things set up and then we'll start getting the passengers on board. So IRS position, we want to go here, FMC. Air rack might just be out of. I probably should have updated this, so hopefully we don't have too many things out of date. I'll have to update it before the next flight. I always forget to check the date and all that. Alright, reference airport. November, Foxtrot, November for Nadi. And we'll just go right there, copy that down. Next page. All good there. There's our route. We'll get the origin, and our arrival is going to be November Sierra Foxtrot Alpha. Flight number 255, Fiji 255. And we're going to be doing runway 09. There's our route. Okay, so we'll go back up top. And we'll hit nav. That should get things aligning. Like, things are actually nice. Perfect. Okay. Alright, flight recorder is off right now, I guess. That just instant align? Must have a setting switched. Because it shouldn't do that. Alright, let's go and get APU going. Alarm the emergency exit lights. Go up top and kind of do a flow down here. We can do a light check and all that. We won't do every little thing. We're in battery, ground power, standby power, good, ground power connected. Lights, we'll put on the logo light and get all these lights that we have on the ground. Continuing here, we'll turn up this brightness just in case we need it. And that all looks good there. Probably a little bit later. In off position. Okay. Auto, keep this, trim air. Circulating fan, both set to auto. Packs, we'll keep to that's auto, and the isolation valve. We would keep that open. Alright, we'll get this, we'll finish this up a little bit later. Let's get the APU going so that we have the air conditioning going and all that for the passengers once they get on board. Get that aft fuel pump on. And we do need fuel. First, check our fuel. Here, FS actions, ground services. Actually, we want to go to payload and get this all set up so that the proper passengers will come on. Kind of remembering how I do things in this plane. Payload we have today, 125 passengers. We'll go 12 in first class, and then we'll have another, what will it be, 113 economy. Cargo gonna be 3418. To kind of split this 1700 in front. Okay, and that should be it for our payload. Back here, look at fuel. I set this to about a third. And then we do need a little bit extra. Actually, we'll set this down like we can get a little bit of fuel of the fueling process. Ground services. We got ground power. We're going to request the fuel truck. And our target today is going to be 7,300 kilos. Everything else we're good on. I like to use the fuel system in here if I want to add fuel. And otherwise, we should be good. Start getting the passengers on pretty soon. In fact, let's do that now.
Boarding requested. Do you want to board crew? Passengers boarding starting.
Passengers are boarding. We're gonna request our flight clearance. Get that fuel coming on. Ground services, fuel, start fueling. Doesn't match up perfectly because this should actually be over here, but I found that this is the fuel system that works with this plane. I usually have issues with using the GSX fuel system, which if you're using the A32NX and maybe even the Phoenix, works actually pretty well. Alright, let's get in to our flight plan. Things set up here. Alright, so summary. We're going to go via Charlie, Godap. I think Charlie is going to be the departure. Runway 9, yeah, Charlie. That, go back to... route. It's going to take us to November. I want that to go to Godap though. Okay, I think I screwed things up. That's not good. It's giving me a transition to Godap, but when I put it in, it wants me to go to... oh, okay, yeah, November is the first. Kind of screwed that up. Let's try that again. Fix this. Help us. Here. Okay. Then we go to Godap. Make sure we don't screw things up. Not doing VATSIM right now because we're off in the middle of the ocean. I'm probably not gonna do VATSIM today because I don't know what the... trying to get a flight in quick and then probably go do some grocery shopping. Alright, we're gonna go on course Romeo 453 Airway. Take that out to Dacom. Duma. We'll go to Arrival. Arrival going to be coming in. We're going to do the RNAV for runway 8. Go Odum Bravo. Transition is going to be Tafua. Execute. My performance page can get the fuel weight is 56.5. I should check right here. 56.5. Takeoff weight is going to be 63, a little bit under 63.8, and should have that fuel all on board. Yep. Release the fuel truck. Back over here. Plan, we got the fuel, we're doing 7.3 reserves. Going to be 1 there, and then cost index of 23. Cruise is going to be 370, 37,000 feet today. Flight level 370. Cute. Wind. this. I'm not 100% sure on these winds yet, how that all works. Still learning how to read the flight plans. And there's our outside air temperature. Transition 10,000. Go to the N1 limit. And I'm going to punch all this stuff into the calculator on the side. So payload. Takeoff weight 63.521. Perfect. Anti-ice, we're going to have off, engine bleeds on, optimum flops, optimum thrust, optimum assumed temperature. Hit the calculate and... Alright, so it's giving us the 26K. Looks like we're going to go no flex because we need everything because kind of a short runway. Actually, taking off. They always do this flight plan. Flight plan always puts us on the short runway. Which isn't the end of the world, but yeah, we'll do it. We'll do the short runway. Should be able to do it. Hopefully. I don't know why it insists. SimBrief loves runway 9 at Fiji for some reason. It does not want you to take off the longer runway, no matter what. That's so keep that. Go to takeoff. We're gonna go flaps 5. Center of gravity, pump that trim in. Go. Over there. B speeds catch up pretty good. Got remaining, we're gonna have. I'm not gonna mess with that. Next page, runway wind. So we got nothing really. Slope. Again, a lot of this stuff I need to look again because I know I can find a lot of this right on. It's on the briefing, but for some reason I forget where it is. I just kind of want to get things going here. Kind of been a while since I've done this flight anyway, or done this plane anyway, so I'm just hoping I can remember how to get it off the ground and all that. Alright, so everything should be set up in there. It's simple. Sounds like the passengers are all on board. They're still getting a few more bags. The door screen, make sure we close that front entry door. Wait for the cargo. Doing 37,000 for our flight and 100 for our land altitude right now.
Refueling truck is on its way. Please don't load aircraft until the
refueling truck on its way.
Asked to do.
Okay, so that's something that's been really annoying me is that for some reason GSX insists on sending a fueling truck now when you do boarding. I don't have this problem with the I only have this problem with this plane now, which is weird why it's doing that because I don't like to use the fuel truck with this plane, especially since we got to wait for it after the boarding is completed. That's kind of frustrating. Alright, let's go through the before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and locked. All the way back here. Inoperable.
Fuel truck is in position. Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and asked to do.
Typically this doesn't do anything. Should eventually bail out. Yes, maybe. Hey, Glass Online Store, welcome. Having issues with GSX like usual, but we're doing all right. Let's see. Flight deck door closed and locked. Fuel. Get the pumps on. I think we have that much fuel. Hold on. Fuel up there. Passenger signs. Right here, we'll get those seatbelt signs set to on. Windows locked. MCP. We got the V2 heading and our initial altitude 3,000. Takeoff speeds V1 rotate in there. Alright, 134 for the V1. V rotate 136. V2 146. Check. Takeoff speeds checked. CDU pre-flight completed. Rudder and aileron trim free and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing. Alright. Get rid of the cargo fuel truck. Yeah, see, I don't know why the fuel truck comes at all. It shouldn't. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the chart. Let's do a takeoff briefing here, or a taxi briefing. Okay, so honestly, it would make more sense to take off like runway 20, wouldn't it? In all honesty. So that might be what I do. We might just change this to take off runway 20. Well, we'll do runway 9 like we got for the plan. Oh, they do have this nice long runway that comes right in. We don't have much wind, but for some reason SimBrief loves runway 9. So we're going to do runway 9, short runway, so hopefully we get off the ground. And then in the future, I gotta pay attention when I'm doing this because it insists on runway 9. No matter what, it's always runway 9 if there's, even when the wind's crazy, it does runway 9. We're going to push back. I think we'll push back here to the right, our tail to the right, so we can come out on Gulf, go on runway 20, and then taxi down to 9. Switch this to APU up here. Shortcuts APU. APU, get down here and go ground services, release ground power.
Release parking brakes, please.
What the heck?
Release parking brakes, please.
Where'd my APU go? Give me a second.
Release parking brakes, please.
Ooh, shut off.
Release parking brakes, please.
Yeah, shut up. Okay, so I don't know what I did wrong here. Because we had the APU.
Release parking brakes, please.
Wrong. APU bleed was on. And I've had this set to auto probably. But I only
Release parking brakes, please. Release parking brakes, please. Release parking brakes,
Why is
please.
my APU not working? This is the
Release
737,
parking
and
brakes, please.
it's been a while since I've flown it, so I'm not sure why the APU isn't working. We got pressure.
Release parking brakes.
Oh, I don't have the generators on. Yeah. Okay. The little things. This is so much more of a study level craft.
Release parking brakes, please.
If you don't do it right, you will have problems. And I did something wrong there. All right, let's remove these.
Release parking brakes, please. All engines clear. Start at will.
A lot of stuff. Hopefully the whole plane isn't completely messed up here. Fingers crossed. All right, 3,000 for our initial altitude. That reset. Okay, and I don't know how this is tail to the right or left. Like, all right, so we'll turn off the packs and we'll get starting.
Hola and welcome on board this Fiji Airways flight. Our commitment to safety is matched only by our love for nature and the environment around us. Welcome to our home.
Please give us your full attention as we take you through this important safety briefing and on a journey of discovery into some
Engine
of the
fail.
actions we've taken to preserve our wonderful yet fragile
What am I
home.
doing wrong today?
Firstly, please check that
Oh,
your
this is
tray
what
table
happens when
is
you
stowed
don't-
away. Your seat is in the
You don't fly a
upright
plane in a
position,
while.
and your window shade
Oh.
is open.
Probably go actually start it properly. Wow. Definitely messing some stuff up here. Looking stupid. Yeah, this is the Boeing 737-800 and rough start here so far. Didn't have the APU set up right and having a hard time getting the engine started properly.
Seat in front of you. And all large portable electronic devices, such as laptops and notebooks, must be stowed away prior to takeoff and landing.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
Alright, we do have a good engine start finally.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
All approved portable electronic devices must be switched to
Starting
flight
engine one.
or airplane mode for the entire duration of the flight. If flight or airplane mode is not available, then ensure your device is switched off. If your portable electronic device gets trapped in your seat, do not move the seat. Call your crew for assistance. We remind our guests that smoking, including electronic cigarettes, is not permitted anywhere on board.
Tow truck
Your
disconnected.
seatbelt needs to be fastened wherever you are seated in case of unexpected
Left
turbulence.
is clear.
To
Right is
fasten,
clear.
clip the belt together and pull the strap tightly. To release it, simply lift the flap or push the buckle. In the unlikely event of an emergency, you may be instructed to take the brace position. In any emergency, follow your crew member's instructions.
Alright, God
Illuminated strips
damper
on the
on.
floor and lights close to the exits will guide you to the nearest exit if visibility is restricted. Your cabin crew will now
We'll
point
just double
out
check down
the
here, make
exits
sure
nearest to you.
our doors are closed.
Please take the time to familiarize yourself with the nearest exit, keeping in mind that
Alright,
it
so we're
may be
taxiing to holding
behind
point,
you.
runway 9.
The
We got
exits
Alpha,
are
hold
equipped
short.
with evacuation
Okay, well, we're gonna be
provisions
going right
which will
out
be
here.
operated
We'll
by
turn.
the crew if
Double back
needed.
on runway 20. Of course, turn on that anti-collision light. Do something I keep
A life
forgetting.
jacket is located under
Taxi
your
lights
seat
on.
or in a compartment
Generators on.
acceptable
Probe heat on.
for
Anti-ice.
business class
As
guests.
needed. Isolation
If
valve
required,
auto.
remove it from its
Engine
stand.
start switches to the con
Slip it over
position.
your head,
We call checked.
bring the
Auto
tapes
brake.
around your waist and
RTO.
clip the buckle
Takeoff.
together. Pull
Engine
this
start
tape
is
to
in the idle
tighten.
detent.
There
Flight
is a red tag
controls.
for inflating the jacket. Pull this tag as you exit the aircraft. There is a mouthpiece for extra inflation, and the jacket has a light and a whistle for attracting attention.
Elevator. Right. Pull left. And rudder. Flight controls check. Ground clear. Equipment cleared before takeoff. Flaps. Get those going into the 5 degrees and stabilized. Trim.
There's an oxygen mask in the unit above your head. If it's needed, it will drop down automatically from above. Pull the mask down to start oxygen flow. Remain in your seat. Stay calm. Place the mask firmly over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Pull the elastic tape over your head and adjust it to hold the mask in place. Please ensure that your mask is on before assisting children or others who may need your help. Your crew are moving through the cabin to conduct their final safety checks.
If you need more information, please refer to the safety card in your seat pocket or ask a member of our cabin crew. Vinaka.
To learn more about some of the environmental initiatives from Fiji Airways or our partners, please refer to the in-flight entertainment. Vinaka.
Alright. Turn a few of our lights on since we'll be on the runways. Let's get our TCAS on. Radar. Like I said, it's been a little bit since I've done this before, so trying to remember where certain things are. Oh, there it is. There's my Tara. Okay. New taxi. Yeah, again, been so long since I've flown the Boeing. Been flying the CRJ so much, so I'm so used to the CRJ and all the stuff on that now that it's a little bit, have to kind of remember how to do stuff here in the Boeing. Not an incredibly long flight, so I don't know if I'll use any of the really good flight acceleration that is included with the PMDG Boeings. Since these are a little bit shorter flights that I'm going to be doing. Don't really need to use it. Turning on to runway 9. Technically we're runway 27 right now since we're heading in that westerly direction, but we're going to be flipping around and taking off runway 9. Shorter runway. Probably should have been taking off runway 20. Due to the winds, there's no real wind to speak of. SimBrief insisted on runway 9 and I didn't change it. I didn't catch it. Keep forgetting about runway 9 being the really short one. But it should be sufficient for calculations had us clearing it, having an extra 200 feet. So, not ideal, but still enough. Quick checks. Ready for takeoff.
B1 rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Okay, 120, 12,000 on our altitude.
Bank angle.
Why we completely went engine out there. Autopilot. I'm confused why we keep losing the pink lines. Target for flying here. Really weird. Never seen that before. Yeah, flight directors are on. And I got the master on this side, on my side. Message here, drag after, but that's on our approach. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on there. I don't know. Weird. For sure. Very weird. Plane's kind of, like I said, I've been flying the CRJ like crazy lately, so I have to get kind of back into this one and review how things are supposed to work. Ground lights off. Let's see. BD, I follow the Milwaukee Bucks, being here from Milwaukee. Unfortunately, got bounced out of the first round. So they were the best. I think they had the best record in the whole NBA, and they lost to the Miami Heat in the first round, 4 games to 1. That was kind of embarrassing. Let's see. Yeah, the only time I generally see it is with a discontinuity, but you don't see that one. Yep. Yeah, that's why I was very confused. I mean, I was climbing just fine. But yeah, it was kind of weird. I was in manual, but yeah, for some reason the engine completely went out for the auto throttle, which is very weird. So I couldn't even get the climb in anymore. Well, the Hawks getting beat by the Celtics was kind of to be expected, I would think, right? You know, when you're the top seed, when you're the top team in the whole NBA, record-wise, I mean, everyone was kind of expecting going to be Celtics, Celtics, Bucks. Once you get to the conference finals. I put in, let's see. Well, I put everything in manually. Now, I might have done it wrong as far as lights up. Under pressure. Yep, I think they do. But I think this is a real, I think they do in the 738 for real also. Coach ran CD. I fly the 736. Yeah, 737 600. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, I didn't get the 600. I got the 700 because I just couldn't wait to get the PMDG. I had never bought a PMDG plane before. Even back when I was in X-Plane for a few years, I just flew the free Zebo mod for the Boeing, the 737. So I had a lot of experience in the 737 800 back in X-Plane, but never had the PMDG one. Obviously, with Microsoft Flight Simulator, if you wanted a good 737 800 or any 737, you need to get the PMDG. So I didn't wait long enough. I got a little antsy, bought the 737 700, and then I bought the 800. So I spent twice as much as I really wanted to on the planes. Looks correct from what I can see. Yeah, let me see what I can show you here. Let's see. Wouldn't be on this page. This is. Might be gone by now. Be on the takeoff page. What page would that be? I'm trying to think. Oh, it'd be on this one. Yeah, I had the 1100 for these for the reductions. Maybe the engine out was wrong. I didn't have them all the same. I never had that before though. Usually it was just fine. The engine would go out, but you'd get into that climb or whatever. Or it adjusts to the climb speed, which it did, but for some reason it went completely idle and then switched to climb speed. It took a while. I don't know if that was because I didn't have autopilot on, but auto thrust works without autopilot as far as I know. So. Well, it's cool to be over here in Fiji once again, flying Fiji Airways. I remember flying Fiji Airways way back in my X-Plane days, doing these flights over here in my world tour when I was doing it in X-Plane. I started over in New Zealand, so I kind of bounced in this area. Most of these flights I'm doing now, not all of them are exact repeats of the flights I did in X-Plane, but some of them are. And I don't know if this one is. This one definitely isn't. I didn't fly to Samoa or anything when I did an X-Plane. But did fly Fiji. I do have to say that the X-Plane free mod for the airport in Nadi is a little bit better. I think looked a lot better than what we have here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, I have no idea. It was kind of weird. I kind of have to break out. I have to find the checklist and all that stuff again. Because I got to a point where I could do this all. I didn't need to have a check. In reality, you should always have your checklist anyway, but... or have my flow sheet that shows me how to do everything, or reminds me how to do everything, because, like I said, it's been so long that now I'm so used to flying the CRJ. I'm looking down here. And it's always crazy because when you jump between different planes, you start looking. You're like, wait a second, that's not where it. Where is that? I'm looking for that, and it's not here because you're on obviously the different plane. All right. I am thinking about getting the ATR I think it's what, $20. So actually good, I think good value right there. So because I do have a few, we're gonna be coming back to Fiji in a few flights, probably in a couple months. The rate I'm going, we'll be back with I do have deluxe, so yeah, I probably get the discount too, so it'll be actually less than 20. I have premium. I have like I got the highest Microsoft Flight Simulator is, whatever the most I spent the most on Flight Simulator. But we do have, I think they're all ATR. Nope, 4. I got 4 ATR 76 flights for Fiji Airways lined up. I was gonna fly that in the freeware community version, which I've been using whenever we've run into ATR flights, but it'd be really cool to be in an actual, maybe not study, but definitely much more accurate than a King Air cockpit stuffed into a model of an ATR. But we're gonna be flying from Nadi over to Nassori on the other side of the island, and then from Nassori up to Tuvalu, and then back, kind of repeat. So it'll be pretty cool. 12-9. Oh yeah, that's gonna be definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick that. I'll probably pick that up tonight, and then just start flying it and getting used to it, learning it, and then maybe we'll do some streams. You know, not exactly the world tour, because you can definitely do different stuff. Maybe in my at some point, maybe I'll have to switch on my pilot's life, because right now I'm flying a pilot's life, and I'm flying for SkyWest and flying the CRJ-7 all the time. And I want to fly the CRJ a lot because I spent 40, 50 bucks on that a couple of years ago, and you know, haven't flown it a ton, but really enjoy flying it and getting better at it, I think. So, but maybe I'll have to switch airlines at some point and get into an airline that flies the ATR 76. Yeah, it's a I think it's pretty, again, take the study level with a grain of salt. I mean, I think study level is a little overused. I wouldn't, like, even the PMDG here is not study level, because not everything is working yet. Like, even over here, I can't, oh no, it does work, never mind. This is probably, the PMDG planes are probably your closest to study level, maybe the Phoenix. Yeah, but yeah, it's study level it's kind of that term. I would call them real, I don't know what term you want to use, like realistic, or it's the, you know, maybe fully functional, I suppose, or fully functional and accurate as far as possible. Yeah, but not, yeah, obviously not complete. You know, study level denotes that it's like literally everything is 100% exact. And I do know with, like, this plane is a lot more closer to that than the PMDGs are a lot closer than obviously the fly-by-wire Airbus. Even though that plane is getting really, 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 really good. You can kind of fudge things. Like you saw, I had my issues with the APU because I didn't have things, I didn't have the APU gen on. With the fly-by-wire, if you don't have a certain buttons hit in the right order, it still works. In this, if you don't hit them in the right order, things will go wrong. And it was the same thing back with the Zebo in X-Plane, which was actually pretty good. Yep. Yeah, so I don't know what you call the category, but basically, fly-by-wire, my level for judging airplanes is it fly-by-wire or better, right? Is the team that's working on it trying to make the systems and everything work the way they do in real life, and this, you know, and the graphics and the textures and everything, is this a plane that actually has value, actually has, you know, again, the big one that everyone talks about, the big one that everyone points out is Captain Sim, right? Captain Sim, where it's a skin basically. You know, I would put the, you know, like the ATR that I flew. I've flown the ATR a number of times on this world tour, and there's a community version. There's the community freeware mod version, which I think has the King Air cockpit. Well, it's not the real ATR cockpit, so I wouldn't, obviously that's not study, quote-unquote study level at all. But it was, you know, you were able to fly the, you know, quote unquote fly the ATR, and it was fine. Obviously not. From what it looks like, this ATR 76, from what I've seen, people are really enjoying it. It seems to be fairly accurate. So, you know, that's what I ask for. When I get a fairly accurate situation. Yeah, I was hearing some things that it's like, well, it might not be 100%, but it's like, well, what does that mean, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look. I'm gonna have to do a little research, just make sure, because, you know, there's, like, I was thinking of getting the Embraers, but then I saw, I think 737 NG driver or whatever, he was pretty negative on those, but I've also seen that maybe he just has an axe to grind with the developers of that. So. But yeah, I prefer, if I'm going to spend money on a plane, I want it to, like, have all the bells and whistles that it should have. As much as possible. Yeah, well, what is it, 12? You said it was $12.99 or something? Oh yeah. I sneeze and spend $12 in this sim, it seems. I mean, I've blown, I want to say probably buying both the 700 and the 800 is probably my worst purchase decision, I would think, because both of those were, what, $70? You know, one was enough, but I got, you know, I didn't hold my yeah, so you don't get the discount, but it's not a big deal. Oh, really? You can't just upgrade? I think you can upgrade. I could have sworn you could have upgraded. You can upgrade. I might be wrong, but I think you can. Huh. Oh, really? Okay. Turn off the seatbelt sign here for the passengers. Think about that. Upgrade. I could have sworn there was an upgrade. Yeah, I'm reading some of these forum posts too, and yeah, I could have sworn there was an upgrade option, but yeah, I mean, that's a big one if you want the 787. I mean, yeah, but you have to kind of think about it. It's like, do you want to spend, is $60 or $70 or $80, whatever you have to spend, even to upgrade, even if you had that upgrade option, is $60. I think it would be like $60 to go from the standard to the premium deluxe or whatever. I mean, is that $60 worth it for that plane? Obviously, you do get a few other airports and stuff, get a few other planes as well, but yeah, you kind of have to balance that. Yep, exactly. I think at this point, since you have the standard, I would say look at other planes and just at some point the 787, there's going to be a payware 787, and it's probably going to be way better than the free the version that comes with the super premium deluxe. I mean, I've flown it, I fly it every once in a while. The heavy division modifications make it better, but it's still far away. It's not even close to what fly-by-wire has done with the A32NX. So, yeah, I mean, if you missed it and you didn't get the, right away, oh well. It's not super realistic. Well, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be super again because it's it's only as far as 747, the salty guys can make it better. Because again, yeah, those Azobo planes are a little out of the box. They're a little sketchy, unfortunately, which is kind of disappointing because. But I suppose with X-Plane, I never flew the stock 737-800 either. I flew the Zebo mod to it, which made it a lot more functional and realistic. So, yeah, I would say at this point, unless general aircrafts. I think what I have for payware. I have plane-wise. I only have the CRJ. I bought the CRJ. The Aerosoft CRJ 700 and 550 pack. I didn't get the 900 or 1000. I kind of do want those, but I'm like, is it worth it to spend another? If it's like $20, maybe I will at some point. If I fly the CRJ enough, or if I have more time to fly and it makes sense. I bought the Boeing 247 from Wings 42. I think that was $20. I bought it primarily because it was $20, and I wanted to support this guy, the creator of it. It's a very detailed aircraft. I mean, to the point where you can, like, on the radio tuning, you can fly on the VORs like they did back in the day when they were flying the 247. The old way of flying, because you didn't have GPS and all the stuff we have now. So it's a really cool plane. It's really detailed though. But it's a pain. I mean, it's just a pain in the butt. Yeah, to get it to work properly, unless you know how to do it. But it is a great value for $20. I just wish I had more time to learn it and fly it. I mean, it comes to the point where you can tune the radio to also get radio stations, like radio stations from like the 30s. So it'll be playing. If you tune to the New York radio station, it'll be playing like big band music or whatever it would be playing. Back in that time, so it's really cool. It's kind of a blast from the past. And then the PMDGs, I got the 737, 700, and the 800. So I don't want to just push a button and fly. Now that I know how to set up navigation on 747 or 737, it's kind of set it and forget it. I like the feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, I mean, I like both. I like to do both. Like when I fly these bigger planes, I'm trying to get better and better at the flows, trying to do it the way they actually do in real life. I love watching them. I don't know if you know, like on YouTube, there's Just Planes, where I think once I watched I think it was a 4-hour video where it was I don't know if it was a 4-hour video, if it might have been longer, but basically you were watching the pilots do everything, and he was walking you through everything he was doing and kind of explaining how the systems work, and that was in the 787, unfortunately. So yeah, it's always on the flight deck. That's what the Just Planes is. They're always on the flight deck. Some of them are just very short, and it's just takeoffs and landings, or like I said, there was one where I think it was a flight, I think it was Norwegian, and it was from Oslo, and I think they were flying to, they might have been flying to LA or to New York or something. But you got to see, you kind of were there watching them do all their prep, but then the captain, once they were up in the air and kind of going, he was kind of pointing out, showing how they do their screens and how they use it and what they look at on their things. Yeah, it's Just Planes. They have a ton of videos, and I think I was watching it because I was like, how can I do my flying better? How do I do this more the way they actually do it? Yep. Well, check that out. I mean, there's always cool videos, and at the very least, you get to watch a landing or a takeoff. from the cockpit, which is always fun, I think. Since we do so much landings and takeoffs from, you know, from the virtual cockpit. Oh, there's lots of them. Oh, really? Writing his own course for the 737? Oh, for like the virtual 737 here? Yep, Flying Fabio. Yeah, I watched him. Oh, really? Well, I suppose I think he was, for a number of years, that was one of his jobs. Was as a safety instructor. Like he flew, and then he moved into being more, because like those safety guys, especially right now, they're getting paid a ton. Like if you're working at the places where these guys are getting their type ratings for the 737 or for whatever it is, those pilots that move into that, it's like, well, they live there now, right? It's like that local job, right? They're not out on the road 15 days of month flying across the world or the country, which I suppose he probably misses on one hand, but on the other hand gets to be home all the time, not to deal with that, and get paid, especially right now, because they have to pay those guys a lot because they're constantly in contact, depending on which plane they're doing. They're constantly in if they're, let's say they're doing let's say they're the type rating training people for, like the Challenger 600 or whatever. I don't even know if that's a real one, but some of these corporate kind of jets, right? Well, they're constantly in contact with these corporate pilots, and these corporate pilots are always, especially with the way the pilot market is right now, they're looking for pilots. A lot of some of these guys are probably looking for pilots to join their crews or join their companies, their corporations or whatever, to fly. And well, who's the person they probably want to hire the most? Well, the guy that trained them, the guy that knows the plane inside and out, is training all the pilots in the world that are flying this plane. Like, that guy is an expert. Maybe we can get him over here, and sometimes a company can pull that guy away from that nice cushy job being a training person at the facility because they'll offer him a higher salary and benefits or whatever. And so then, if you want to keep these training pilots in-house and stuff doing that job, well, they got to raise their salary, and so everything's kind of going up right now for those guys. Yeah, so he must be doing that. He's doing 737 this week. He's using the PMDG 738 to show us in-game, but he's pulling up electrical schematics and showing the nuances that you wouldn't realize PMDG put in without knowledge. Yeah, again, there's where, like the PMDG, I think the Phoenix, I've actually heard that the Phoenix, the A320 Phoenix, CEO, the current engine option, so the Phoenix and the fly-by-wire are actually different planes engine-wise, but they're very similar as well, because they are still the A320. But yeah, I've heard that the Phoenix is actually slightly better than the PMDG in some aspects. But PMDG has always been known for that, having all the systems that you don't even see, modeled in there, the electrical systems. Now the weird thing is, the only thing is, I don't know how to like pull up a lot of that information. I don't know if there is a way. Basically, you can only kind of see this. Like on the CRJ, you can kind of see all the systems. Even the A3, the fly-by-wire A321X, they got it where you can see the, the hydraulics and all that, what they're doing. But yeah, that's what makes these planes, that's why a plane like the PMDG or some of these, the Phoenix costs so much, because they have so much behind it. I don't know, I just want to be able to see the different, like on the A320 and on the CRJ, you can kind of go through your systems. You can see the engine, you can see the fuel system, you can see the bleed system, you can see the electrical, you can see the air conditioning. How do I pull that up, though? That's what I'm that's what I'm wondering, because it's like I feel like I figured it out before and then I forgot again. 'Cause the only things I know how to get to the flight controls and the hydraulic here. Maybe that's what you're meaning by the hydraulics, I suppose. And then you can see the engine. Obviously, you can move different stuff. Oh, I didn't know I could change the settings. Never thought about that. Speed references. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. There's not a lot. You really can't dive into the system information on this plane as much as you can on the Airbus. Yep. Control surfaces? I mean, they've got the... Yeah, maybe this isn't the control surfaces, but yeah, you got your elevator and your spoiler and all that, which are control surfaces. Brake time. So this would be like the wheel screen, but even that, you can see how it's just pretty simple. It's just the brake temperatures. Like on the Airbus, you got the whole wheel thing, and it shows a whole bunch of information. You got the flight control, it shows a whole bunch more hydraulics. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like this is all you get versus the Airbus, and I was wondering if I was missing something, or if there was a secret somewhere else. I have to hit some buttons, and then it pops up. Yeah, that was definitely a thing when I went from... So an X-plane, I flew the 737-800, the Zibo mod exclusively. I flew this, basically this plane. This is always what gets me, because the PMDG, it changes the panels. Now, I know I can set these panels to whatever I want, but it changes. Different liveries will have different panels. I think the livery maker can set that. So, like, on this one, it's got this. I don't know if this is the Collins or whatever. But this is so different. I remember when I first jumped into the PMDG plane and it had this up here and it had these, I think. Some of these things were different. I was like, this does not look like the 737-800 that I've had, that I flew in the Zibo. Because the Zibo one, I think, had the Honeywell. And that was the only one it had. It didn't have options to switch these things. So it's like, this is so different to me. I'm like, well, this is weird. I don't remember this. That's because I didn't, because it's a whole different, the panel's different. Some of the stuff is actually different. But then when I got it set up, when I had the Honeywell stuff, it was like, oh, okay, this looks more. But even now when I look at it, I look at it and it seems so different from what I remember in X-Plane. But if I go look back at my pictures from X-Plane of the cockpit, it actually is the same. So it's kind of weird. Yep, exactly. Yeah, you can change that stuff. I usually don't mess with it. I just keep it because I don't know. Obviously, I could just change it to what I prefer, but I kind of like it changing, kind of having different stuff depending on, because different airlines or whichever version of the plane they have, or whatever they put in, different airlines do have different things. So, but I do prefer the Honeywell. I don't like this one I don't like this one. It's just not the one I'm used to. I flew so many. Yeah, and I don't want to mess with it and have. I just leave whatever it is and get used to it. All right, so we got away from. We were going past the islands for quite a while there. That was just all the islands of Fiji, I guess. Pretty cool. All right, so now basically we got nothing. I think we got a little. We do have a. What is it called? Bailahi. We have a few little tiny atolls that we're gonna fly over. But we'll have on our left. They're not much bigger, but Wallace and Futuna are gonna be on our left, off in the distance. I don't know if we'll be able to see them. And then we'll have Samoa in front of us. And then American Samoa just off to the right of where we're coming. Next flight will be just a short hop. We'll be switching airlines into the 737-800 Samoa Airlines. Not a real-life flight. I think in real life it's flown. They probably do that island hop in the. I would guess the what they would probably an island hopper or something. Oh yeah, I mean, and I remember how that was when I first started in X-Plane. I could not, because basically I wasn't interested. X-Plane, you know, as you know, X-Plane does not look as pretty as Flight Simulator, so I never was really interested in doing like the smaller planes. I did do a few smaller plane flights, but I kind of really wanted to get into flying the airliners because it seemed like there was a little bit more. X-Plane's better for airliners anyway, I think, overall. And that was a big thing when Microsoft Flight Simulator first came out. A lot of people, that was the point. Like, hey, if you want to fly VFR, come over to Flight Simulator. If you want to keep flying your IFR and stuff. Oh, okay, I'll have to look at that update for FSU RPC. Everything's working right now, so I haven't had any issues, Icebird, lately. So the update must not be too important yet. But yeah, when Flight Simulator first came out, and basically all we had was the A320, the 787, and the 747, and they really weren't much working very well. It was like, yeah, if you want to fly IFR, you want to fly your airliners at 37,000 feet, go back, just stay with your X-Plane if you have X-Plane, obviously. Now it's changed. Now we have things like PMDG and the CRJs. Like the Aerosoft CRJs I think are really good. And like I said, I've been flying those a lot, and I've been getting a lot better at landing them. I was terrible at landing those planes. If you go back and watch some of my world tour flights where I flew the CRJ, my landings were probably pretty terrible, and I've gotten a lot better. And so we'll see if I can land this one, if I can, you know, remember how to land a little bit bigger. I feel like it's actually easier to land the bigger planes because they don't, you don't get bounced around by the wind. It feels like you don't get bounced around by the wind as much. You also don't, like your inputs are a lot more sluggish, and so you can't, you know, usually you'll even watch those videos. If you watch those cockpit videos, you watch people in the 737 and they're just bouncing that yoke all over the place. But you watch the plane, it doesn't seem like it's really moving around that much. It's not jumping around. You know, or the same thing with the Airbus, they're all on that stick, just wobbling it around. Yep, and it's all, yeah, exactly. Biggest thing is if you do the approach right, and I've gotten better at that, being super focused on approaches, and we'll see if I do that now because I am streaming, and when I'm streaming, that tends to be where I lose the focus. But I've gotten a lot better with the flow, a lot better with controlling my speeds and doing all that stuff. Yeah, well, and that's the big one is rudder, putting in the rudder inputs, dealing with those crosswinds. And especially now if you've switched your there is a setting now that with the latest update for Flight Simulator is a setting to set the turbulence to realistic, which actually makes it a lot more as you're coming in and getting towards the ground, the what do they call it, the ground element, or the ground what the term is, but as you get closer to the ground, that wind and turbulence actually picks up because of the ground element to it. I don't know what the ground something. I forget what it is. The ground. Yeah, I'd go look for that setting. I forget where it is. I think it's in assistance options, where there are a lot of those things that make it your flights more realistic, turning things off, turning other things on. Yeah, you are definitely moving slower. That's always been a thing too. It's like I've been reading the book from the FAA, like the pilot's handbook, or how to fly an airplane or whatever, and talking about how, and I was always interested. It's like, well, why do we have to learn how to stall and deal with stalls? It's like, why would you even get close to stalling? It's like, well, because you're at that ground effect, perfect, ground effect. That's because you're getting down to that, when you're landing a Cessna, you're at like 60, 70 knots. You're just barely above the stall speed. And then you make these turns, and if you make that turn to final, too tight because you overshot, well, then you're in a stall and then you're in a world of hurt. You gotta know how to get out of that. And typically I was always going too fast because for me, it's like when I fly in the simulator, I'm always flying, yeah, you don't have the yaw damper, which actually that makes sense. I was like, what is a yaw damper? I've never figured out what yaw damper is, and now that you just mentioned it, after reading about how you have to counteract that yaw and everything in the smaller planes, it's like, oh, that's what a yaw damper must be doing, right? Automatically for you, so you're not having to put in those rudder inputs just to make your turns in these bigger planes. Whereas in the smaller planes, you're always doing that coordinated, the coordinated turns and all that. It's like, so now when I do fly the smaller planes like the Cessna here in Flight Simulator, I'm trying to practice doing that stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. But that's the cool thing. I mean, that's the cool thing with, I think it was a big thing about Flight Simulator when it came out, is that there was a big movement that people were hoping that, I think there were a number of people who are like, oh, this is going to possibly help with the pilot shortage, getting people interested in flying who might not have otherwise, and then they get into doing the flying, they get into doing the flight simulating, and then they get interested and they learn more and more and more, and they get more. And then at some point, I'm sure there are people, I'm going to the airport, I'm going to be going over to ATP flight school next week on Sunday, doing an admissions flight, going up there and trying. I don't have money either. It is possible to do it though, but it is like ATP flight school. I'm looking at that, and they will basically, they have the accelerated course. Yep. Yeah. At the very least, if you have any interest at all, or if you're thinking about it, go to your local airport or go to an ATP, do an intro flight. Now I already applied for financial aid and everything, and you can apply for financial aid, and as long as you get like a pre-approval, then you get that flight for free if you want to go that way. You don't have to accept that loan that they offer you. You can always change it later if you actually are serious about doing it. So I saved, I think it's $170 at ATP to do an intro flight, and but you can go to any local airport, do an intro flight. It'll be whatever it is, $100, $200, depending on whatever it is, to rent a plane and an instructor for an hour or whatever. But that's the big thing. It's like go do that and see, hey, is this something I'd actually want to be interested in doing? And especially because for the first 1,500 hours of your flying, you're going to be flying in a small plane. So if you can't handle flying in a small plane and you have scared to death of it, you have no interest in doing it, it's you don't want to do that, well, you're going to have a hard time getting up to your goal. A lot of people's goals, what's their goal? Or a lot of the people that are looking at this as a career, what's the goal? Well, you want to get to an airline. Yeah. Which is what most of us in the simulator are flying, and it's the one that everyone's kind of like, ooh, ah. Not everyone. A lot of people. There are a lot of people who stream and they do the VFR, or they do the smaller planes. I kind of say VFR all the time for when I mean smaller planes, because obviously they're VFR and IFR are just the flight conditions. But obviously, if you are flying VFR, or you can only fly VFR, you're flying a smaller plane. You're not flying a... Well, yeah, and then, I mean, there are a number, I'm sure there are a lot of pilots, airline pilots. I mean, if you go and you make it a career, you're going to make enough money that where you can then own your own plane, or at least rent a plane quite a bit on your off days or whatever. There's different ways to do it. I've seen different ways, or I've watched videos of different ways to do your flight training and to get your private pilot, get your commercial, to get your instrument, to get your all the things you need to get up to airlines. There's ways to do it. You can go through ATP, which is a very structured, it's a fast course, 7 months. You got to be willing to work though and put in the effort, obviously, but kind of it's all laid out. But you can't, with that one, you have to think about that. It's like, okay, I need to take out the financing, but I'm not making money for 7 months because you're not working. You just don't have time. You're not going to have time to hold down a job. If you can do something on the side like stream and get a little bit of income that way, or whatever. But you're not gonna be able to hold like a full-time job or even a part-time, regular world job. It's not like you can't make any money on the side, but it's gonna be very hard. But obviously you can go, if you have more time and you're willing to spend, in the long run, probably you'll spend more money, and there's a greater chance of you flunking out because you just don't put the time. But going to the mom and pop, going to your local flight school, airport flight school, and flying once or twice a week. Ideally, if you really want to do it, you can do it 5 times a week. You could do it. You could do the ATP style, but do it on your own terms. I think ATP, the advantage of ATP is that you do have the financing. Because I think ATP, it's like it's almost $100,000 now to go through the whole program. When I first looked at it, I think it was $80,000, but it's gone up in the last couple of years, unfortunately. But you have to think about right now is a great, one of the best times to ever get into the aviation industry because, you drop $100,000 on flight school with financing, of course. You're going to have to pay that back, but the financing, they have really good payback options where you can defer that until you actually start making a little bit of money so you can afford to pay that back. Like one of the options I looked at when I was doing my loan is like you can start paying back right away, which kind of seems a little silly especially if you're taking out the $100,000, but then you're also taking out like another $20,000 for living expenses. If you're paying back right away, it's like, well, what am I paying back with? I'm paying back with the loan, basically. Weird. So, but that's one option. You probably get your lowest interest rate, and obviously in the long run you're spending the least. But I think part of the reason you're taking out a loan is because you don't have a ton of money on hand to pay off the loan at the same time you're using the loan. And then there's the deferred option where you can, I think you either pay $25 a week while you're in school, or it might be you pay $25 a month once you're doing your flight instructing. You actually just pay $25 a month because you're not going to be making a ton during flight instructing, and with a loan this big, your payments are going to be like $900 a month. So when you're doing flight instructing, you're not making enough to pay that. And then once you get through your flight instructing and you're now at an airline where you, at least the climate now, you get to a regional, they're throwing, some of these regionals are throwing $25,000, $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 signing bonuses now in that first year. You can actually pay down that loan pretty quickly. On top of making, I think the real low-paying regional jobs now are you're probably making $50,000, but I think Envoy you can make $100,000 a year or $90,000 if you fly, at the hours. So it's a something I'm looking at, and my plan is if I want to do this, it's like I'm not going to do it until next year, probably this time of year, just so I can stack a little bit more save a little bit more money up for the living expenses. I think I'm even able to look into this at all because when I mentioned this to my wife, I was saying it's like, oh, it's going to be really hard for us with our mortgage and with our house and all that. And she then suggested, like, oh, well, we could rent out the house. And she's from China, so I could go back to China and live with my mom and, spend time. It's been by the time we do this, it'll be about 5 years since she's been back to China because she came right when the whole COVID thing exploded. And so now it's really hard. But she and our baby, well, by then he'll be 3 years old or 2.5 years old by the time next year. But they'll go and live with her mom and her mom's boyfriend and her sister and all that, and that'd be really cool. I'll be kind of jealous actually. I could go back and live over there, but if I'm doing the flying thing, it's probably because I want to do the flying thing, right? So I'll have to just wait to go back to China until I start making some money, and then we can just do that as a vacation, right? But that would solve one problem because, okay, if they go over there, I don't have to pay for insurance for them and all the living expenses for them. It frees up, it makes it a lot easier for us to just rent out this house because we don't need the house then. I can then live with a friend or with my parents here and then go to the flight school. Now I can focus 100% on that. And then once we get to the flight instructing, where I start making money as a professional, which is not going to be a lot, then it's like, okay, maybe they stay there for a couple years until I get to an airline where I can make some money, where we can afford to pay for the house. But really early stages right now, and first thing first is get over to the airport and do that flight and see if I even want to do it. Yeah, well, she said it's like, if you're interested in doing that, and I think I convinced her, because I said it's like, well, if I can become an airline pilot, I can make, pretty quickly, especially these regionals now. It's like I in my first year at a regional, if I get on like with a SkyWest or an Envoy, I'm replacing what I'm making now. I'm making like $80,000 a year now, but the way our mortgage is, we just bought this house, and I work 60 hours a week to make that. It's like we're constantly having to penny pinch, constantly having to think about money, and she can't stand that. She's just not, and she's getting really annoyed with America and the medical bills and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, if I do this, it's like I can, within like 2 or 3 years of getting to even a regional airline, but definitely once you get up to the majors, it's like I can make at least twice as much as what I'm making now, and work less hours, and be, I'll be away from home. I won't be home every night, but I will actually be home days off more, and be making way more. And then when I do have the days off, or when I do take a vacation, take a week or two vacation, we can actually go somewhere and do something, as opposed to right now I take a week vacation and it's just sit around the house and do nothing and don't spend money. Try not to spend any money, because we gotta pay the bills. So I'm 35, gonna be 36 in October, so that's another reason why it's like I'm kind of jumping on this now, going, okay, I gotta figure this out quickly. Even waiting until next year, I'm feeling like, ugh, but I need to kind of give myself time to stock up a little bit. I stopped putting money. I'd been putting like 15% of my paychecks into the 401k, but now I have all this money in 401k that I can't access, which would be nice. Well, I can access, but at a huge penalty. And it'd be nice to have that money right now to be able to pay for flight school or pay for living. I mean, if I had all the money I've saved up in the 401k, if I had that money on hand, well, then we could stay in this house and all that and survive for a couple of years without me working. But so right now I'm putting no money into the 401k for the next year, stack up some cash. And if I decide not to do the flying thing, well, then I have a nice emergency fund built up, and then I'll just start throwing money back in that 401k. And it's like, but if I go the airline route, if I go become a pilot, it's like I'll make up all that difference that this year putting money in the 401k and retirement, all that other stuff. It'll be in the long run, right? You make a career out of it and you are successful, you're gonna make hand over fist way more than what I'm making now. And any alternative jobs, basically, I'm maxed out what I'm gonna make, where I'm working now, what I'm doing. And to make anything more, I'd have to go back to school and spend money. And so, funny, because my mom was like, oh, you should go back into teaching, because I taught over in China, but I taught ESL, and it was, made a lot of money doing that. But it's like teaching in America is a whole different thing. You get paid a whole lot less. And it's like, okay, so I'm gonna spend what, $10,000-$15,000 to get my master's degree, get my teaching license, so I can make $30,000 less a year than I'm making now. Doesn't make sense. So, but that is the current plan, or at least the initial plan right now. All right, coming up on Idnip in 49 nautical miles. Cruising at 37,000 feet. Everything's looking good. Fuel, what about 4,150 remaining? Yeah, we'll see. I mean, sometimes I get when I read on some things that we have to do, and some of the stuff that's required a blinking light. Are you joking? Probably just joking, right? Joking. Alright, we're 33 miles out. A little over halfway. Not 33, 33 minutes out. Oh yeah, this plane. A lot of these planes do that now. Alright, we got a little bit, quite a bit of distance to go, but not a bad time to start looking at some charts. Just about to cross from the Nadi area into another another control area. Not sure which one. Alright, so Aduma, we're gonna have this nice short little star there, approach route into Tafua. I'm looking at the approach chart for Faleolo, West Samoa, RNAV GNSS, runway 08. November Sierra Foxtrot Alpha Faleolo International. We'll try to say it that way. Yeah, I can't wait. Well, that's the big thing with the Phoenix, is that the Phoenix has a nice robust EFB, and PMDG is just dragging its feet. Can't get their get their flight bag out. Crazy. All right. What am I looking at here? Okay, that's the go route. Okay, so here's our approach. Look here, final approach course is going to be 78 degrees, so I can actually put that in right here, right now. Putting it right here on the course. Now it's RNAV, so it does. I don't think you really need to have those in. You do need to have those set if you're doing like ILS. Otherwise, it won't work properly. Probably even VOR, you need that. We're going to capture the glide slope at 2,500 feet at Foxtrot Alpha 406. LNAV, VNAV, decision altitude is 480. Height is going to be 422. Airport elevation is 58 feet. Next approach, we're going to track on 78 degrees to Foxtrot Alpha 402. Turn left direct to Foxtrot Alpha 411. Track 243 degrees to Shimpa. Track 168 to Dinar, 4,000 feet. So we have the visual version of that right here. There's that Foxtrot Alpha. Then we make that turn. 168 or just turn left direct. Doesn't have a track, I don't think. Direct to Foxtrot Alpha 411, then 243 to Shimpa, and then back to Dinar, and then again in for that approach again. Yep, I do that. I've done that. I'll even probably put the ILS in here just as a backup and kind of cheat a little bit. Let's see. Other important information here. Our altitude set is hectopascals. We do have our altimeter set right there. Runway elevation is 2 hectopascal. This one I don't understand what that is. That works. Transition level is flight level 150. Transition altitude is 13,000. I always get a little confused what that means. I think transition and level is where you go from flight level to feet. And then I think transition altitude is where you go from your standard pressure to the ground pressure, the local pressure. So 13,000 is what we're looking at. I think that's what it is. We use local QNH. Number 2, LNAV, VNAV, valid to airport temperature, 5 degrees Celsius. Use of remote QNH not authorized. There's our map version of everything we need to do. That might be it too, yeah. Well, basically, I think the transition level is where you go from Because right now we're at flight level 370. We're not at 37,000 feet. So if you ever, I was watching 7.4 gear, and I think the recent video he did a video on flight or no plane, did on the movie Plane, like Hollywood versus reality or whatever. And like they called like, oh, we're at 40,000 feet. It's like, no, you're at flight level 400. No one says 40,000 feet. I do say it sometimes, but if you're calling over, technically you're at flight level, and that's what you would say to ATs. Flight level 370. I think that's the transition level. Once we get to flight level 150, then we would call out 14,000, 13,000. And that might be where you switch from Mach to regular speed too. Yeah, even on the ground it said 40,000. Well, it's all those movies too. It's like they can't pick a plane. It's like, pick a plane. Just do a real plane. Like, pick a real plane. Okay, are you flying a 737? Use a 737. Are you flying the A320? Okay, do it. But it's like, you'll see these. I feel like the plane they were in, like the cockpit, I'll have to go back and look what the cockpit was, what it looked like. But, you know, you see the exterior shots and it'd be like a CRJ or like a, you know, an MD or something. I think it was an MD, because I think that's what you said, like pilot mistakenly lands MD in the middle of the ocean or whatever. Yep. Yeah, he flies the 747. It's like 5 different planes. I know, it's so frustrating. That's the thing, most people don't notice that, but it's like if you're a flight simmer or you're a real life pilot, you notice that kind of stuff. You're like, wait, that's not right. Let's see, what else we got here? Alright, so here's the cross section. We're gonna fly to, okay, that's the hold at Dinar. Once we get to Dinar, we need to be at 2,500 feet. Then 78 degrees in, 2,500 feet. Glide slope at Foxtrot Alpha 406, 3 degrees. Down to the runway, we got our minimums, and obviously runway 08. And you can see here the go around, 78 degrees to Foxtrot Alpha 402, and then continue. Minimum, we're going to do this one right here, LNAV and VNAV, 480. We can actually put that in. I'm going to put that in right now. 480. Hit barometer right there. And yeah, barometer is 480. That's the altitude. And then if you're doing the decision, if you do decision height, that'd be 422 feet above the ground, I think, which is radio. Then you'd be on the radio one. I don't think you can set both. You set one or the other. Now CRJ is a little different. CRJ, it's like a pain in the butt. So this would be if you're doing decision height. If you're doing decision altitude, it'd be 480. Yep. I'm still trying to figure it out on the CRJ, because the CRJ, it's a real pain in the butt to do. I think if you do decision height, that's the one, and it goes by 1 foot each. So if your decision altitude is like 5,000 feet, you probably just want to do the decision height, which is typically 200 feet. And so you just have to scroll to 200. Because otherwise you're just scrolling that wheel forever to get to 5,000, because it's just going one by one. Whereas decision height, or if you go to decision altitude, one of them does go by like integers of 10 or something. But I can't remember now exactly. So we got that in. We got the minimum. If there's anything in here, probably want to go and see if I can get my calculator. Show you my calculator I use. I use VAS Airplane Toolbox. You can find that on the X-Plane forums, so it's not exclusive to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'll have to get a link for that and put it in my description at some point. I can up. So that's what I'm using right now. It actually comes with a like a checklist and everything too that you can use. We don't need the checklist just yet, but we do need the landing. So we're going to be landing runway 08. Our landing weight, I think, Oh yeah, for your flaps things. Well, I think the calculator lets me know, and then yeah, I usually pull it right from here. I like to use the calculator because some planes you don't have, it doesn't work. So you do need to figure it out. What I want to find is the weights and stuff. Probably performance, right? Actually, landing weight we can find in the right? The landing weight would actually be in the it's in our flight plan, isn't it? That's law is landing weight, right? That'd be landing weight, I think. Oh yeah, it's actually exactly. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course it's gonna be that because well, this calculator you actually import your sim brief, so that's why my landing rate or landing weight's that. Okay, so we're not gonna use auto land. Should be pulling in the right winds. Always double check that later, make sure. Yeah, but see here, it's telling me flaps 30. So you call that. Flaps 30, there's landing weight, approach speed, touchdown, VREF, landing altitude. So we don't have to change anything with landing altitude. Alright, we are ready for descent because there's our top of descent and it's coming up really quick. So let's say report ready. And we'll knock out a few other things. We'll put in the ILS at some point as a backup. And hopefully they give us a descent. Because the plane will descend on its own once we hit that top of descent. So hopefully. And basically, I mean, if I make this lower than where we're at, it will start descending. I prefer if they give us the clearance first. Alright, I'm going to be landing. Once I get done with this flight, I'm going to, you know, YouTube, I do each of my flights as its own stream, so the stream will be ending anyway. I'm planning and hoping I can get the next flight in sometime today, this afternoon, maybe in the evening. Only a 20-minute flight from Apia, Samoa, over to Pago Pago, American Samoa. I'll be in the 738 again on Samoan Airlines or Airways or whatever. So keep an eye out for that. I won't be doing it right after. I'm going to be going down, probably eating lunch. Maybe we'll go out grocery shopping or something. What's going on? Okay, we are ready for descent. I'm going to give us a lower altitude so we begin descent. Sometimes the ATC, I'm using FS HUD ATC. It doesn't really interact the best always. A little slow sometimes. Coming up on the descent, so let's get those seatbelt signs on. And I got the descent checklist. Pressurization, land altitude 100. We call checked. Auto brake. We're gonna go auto brake. Airport. So the calculator I have, it actually gives you a nice view of the different margins depending on which auto brake you pick. If we take auto brake 1, 2, 3, or max, it shows you how much margin you have on the runway. Coming in, take a look at the chart on the runway. Got 3,000 meters. So depending on how fast we want to get off the runway, we're probably not going to get off at Charlie unless we go max auto brake. We'll probably go auto brake. Auto brake 1 will probably be plenty, and because we'll be looking to get off at Bravo. Come into the really wanted to get off at Charlie though, which I doubt we will because we'll probably touch down right around here, and we need super auto brake. We'll just go like auto brake 1. And that'll be plenty. That'll give us a margin of 671 meters. And yeah, if I break that up, that looks plenty to be done by Bravo. Alright, so we are descending. You can see the VNAV has started our descent. We didn't get clearance for it. Obviously, if I was in VATSIM or in a real life situation, I wouldn't just start descending. Or I would ask for, hey, we're coming up our top of descent, we haven't got clearance, can we descend? But since I am using ATC, computer ATC, I mean, if you ignore it a little bit. Continue that descent checklist. Descent checklist, pressurization, land altitude 100, recall checked, auto brake 1, landing data, VREF, back in there. There we go, there's our, right, VREF, we're doing 142, minimums 480, approach briefing completed, descent checklist complete. Okay. Cleared to flight level 280. Alright, so you just missed me setting my auto brake. I can kind of show you how I did that. Oh, that's checklist. Actually, on this calculator, it gives you, depending on which auto brake, it'll show you your margin that you have left to the runway. We're just going to go auto brake 1. We're going to get towards the end of the runway because that's where the taxiway, direct taxiway. Because the first taxiway is too early. We're never going to, not even with max brakes will we get there, so we'll just stay on the runway, roll out, and then we'll turn into the terminal with auto brake 1. Got the minimums in, 480 on the barrow. We're already starting to descent. Did the VNAV. They asked that we got the ATC came over, asked us if we were ready for descent. I said I was ready for descent, and they didn't tell us to descend until after I had already started descending, because it's always a little slow. Because the top of descent, if you want to do VNAV and you want it will automatically start descending if you have your altitude lower than your current altitude. It will automatically descend once it decides it needs a little pink arrow. I'm gonna follow that. Yeah, 736 you can see a little bit smaller. Yep, FMC. Well, what happens on this plane is the speed will actually drop because it's the engine will spool back because it's anticipating you descending, and if you aren't actually descending, you'll just start bleeding speed. So typically, I will just, because I'm using FS HUD ATC, it's a little bit slow. you know, if you're using the Microsoft Flight Simulator ATC, it's sometimes a little bit slow. FS HUD ATC is a little bit more forgiving, so if you do descend early or you're below, they'll sometimes say, hey, climb, but then eventually you'll figure out, oh yeah, you're right, never mind. MSFS ATC, if you are not at the right level, they'll chirp at you forever, and it's like, I need to be at 2,000 feet right now. Like, oh, you need to be at 36,000. Like, no, I need to be at 2,000. I need to land. So that's why I got FS HUD ATC. Obviously, VATSIM is the best option of the three as far as getting proper calls and stuff, for the most part. Yeah. But no coverage where I'm flying, and I didn't want to deal with it today. Europe's kind of the place to be right now, as far as VATSIM. It is the weekend, so a little bit going on. Looks like let's see, what do we got coverage at? I think there's New York's got some approach coverage, some tower at JFK and Newark. Washington has approach and tower. And Charlotte has departure and Atlanta Center. Jacksonville approach is online. There's looks like Kansas City Center and Albuquerque Center online as well. A little bit of ground coverage at at Phoenix. Los Angeles approach and San Diego Tower. That's all we got. I think we got a Portland Tower as well. So not a ton online right now, North America anyway. Yeah, part of me wants to get back into just logging into, you know, being on VATSIM, even if there's no coverage, being logged in, logging the hours, and then maybe someone will come on. One time I did do that, and it was like I was flying into Kenya, and then suddenly Nairobi Center came on, or Nairobi approach, and that was kind of fun, but it was also like I wasn't like expecting it, and then also dealing with the accent. It was clearly someone from Kenya. But we got down on the ground and it worked out. But I just don't do a ton of VATSIM, so I'm not like expert level yet. So and typically when I do VATSIM, I doing it in part of a big giant event, so it's usually a pretty hectic situation as well. Big reason I don't use VATSIM a lot is just because right now I can hear some stirring going on, and as I come in for approach here, I bet you $1 million my wife and baby are going to come in and start distracting me and bugging me. So hopefully we can get down on the ground here, get parked, and finish up this flight, but I can. What the plan is for this afternoon. Gonna venture out for some grocery shopping. Kind of don't want to go out because it's all rainy and miserable, but tomorrow's gonna be rainy and miserable too. Kind of pick and choose which day you want to go out anyway. Are there winds showing up there? Guessing that's a Samoa right over there. Alright, so we kind of fell behind on the triangle there. Hopefully catch up. Remember that 13,000 yards for transition altitude, so it should, at this point, giving us our altitude, our altimeter right there. That's how it goes every time. Every time. Alright, proceed direct to Afua. Haven't left things up yet. Alright, Tafua, gotta be at max 230 knots. Kind of struggling with that. I think we could do a little bit of speed. Okay, it's got the restrict. Okay, decel right there. So the plane should decel 230. We need to be above 2,500 feet at Dinar. Okay, so I'm... see, I got my retractable landing lights down. I'll use the fixed ones once we get clearance for landing. Just kind of as a visual reminder for ourselves and for ATC that we got the message. Okay, so this is weird. Now they want us to go down to 2,200, even though we need to be at 25. So, kind of weird how they do that. But we're looking good, about 230. Hopefully my mouse battery doesn't die here. A little sketchy. Getting a little sketchy on the movement. We can actually put the VOR in, do that. So it's 113.9. That. Right, Dinar, we gotta be at 185. That's what you can see here. Plane is slowing down. Flaps 1. That's weird. I've never had anything fail because I don't have failures on. Typically, if you don't have failures on, you shouldn't get any real failures. Flaps 5. Altimeter set, approach checklist complete, landing, engine start switches, cont, e-brake armed, landing gear. Get on our final approach here. Drop the landing gear. Play the flaps. Right there.
500. Approaching minimums. 500. Minimums. $100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Oh, a little hard. A little firm there. Getting a flare. I guess we could have gone off at Charlie there. Well, not the best landing. You could hear the passengers screaming. Alright, so parking 4, let's get that. Actually, we made it a little bit firm landing there. I got landing negative 426 concerning. I thought it was doing all right, but I guess I just didn't get that flare. Kind of got a little Thought I was gonna float, and so I kind of dipped it a little bit too much. That's disappointing. Thought I had it. Worst landing in a while. Everything's been sub 300 lately. Where are we going? Where do I park this position? Yeah, definitely a firm one. Yeah, where do I go to park? Those stairs weren't there. Never had it perfect like that. Usually if you get it perfect, they'll do a dance. Oh, no dance? Okay. Parking brake set. Keep going. That. And when we do the APU, let's make sure we actually probes. We do our APU gen. That's what we screwed up last time. That's what I screwed up on the startup and everything. Raiders, lead. Docks, the ground power. Seatbelt signs coming off.
The boarding requested.
Rusty boarding.
Passengers bus is coming.
Off the IRS.
Passengers, the boarding starting.
Alright, while the passengers are getting off, we're going to take a look at Atlanta and see how poorly we did on that landing. Are you doing a flight right now out of Memphis? Yeah, it's rainy here where I'm at. Alright, so there's our flight. It gets a little weird because we go across that in the middle of the map, and so that exactly what. But basically a straight shot, and yep, landing rate not great. Negative 426. Not exactly what I was looking for on that one. And there come the passengers. Always nice when GSX works, and it's really nice when you get to use the stairways, because you really get to see everyone come out. Jetways tend to have a little bit more issues, but for some reason they're getting a little off the stairway. Pretty cool. We'll give a quick look at the World Tour map. There's the map. They're all the way over here in this corner. Fiji. And today we arrive in Samoa. We pretty much just have this quarter down here to finish up. That should be happening fairly, probably within this in the next year, I would hope. A little bit more shutdown here. Technically, you probably wouldn't shut down some of this, but turn off the window. Wouldn't do this until all the passengers are off. Gonna quickly go through it.
Passengers bus is coming.
Emergency exit lights off. Technically, you'd leave those on again. Passengers are on. Window heat off. Packs off. About it. We just got that bump right there.
Passengers deboarding starting.
The lights. All we gotta do is turn off the ground power and the battery switch, and this is a cold, dark plane. Alright, well, thanks a lot for coming on the flight. Hey, why was your TCAS failing? Yeah, what was going on with that? Which plane are you flying with? Brought the deers to a line and not nav. Oh, yeah, you gotta get the... Are you in the 737 here? Does the... You also have to set to a nav on the Airbus, right?
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, thank you.
Ah, 736. Cool. Where are you flying from? Before I take off here. Memphis? You're going Memphis to where? Alright, well, thanks for coming on the flight. See where coach is going here, and next flight we'll be doing a short little hop. It will do
Crew bus is coming.
off, since we're going to be getting off. Ground power off and battery off. Not amperes. There you go, cold dark. Alright, so yeah, next flight we'll be flying right from over here just down to
Crew deboarding starting.
next island, which is going to be behind us to the east, a little bit to the southeast. Flying over to American Samoa will be on Samoa Airways in the 737-800. It'll be a nice short one, and then possibly I'll do a turnaround right there, and we'll see what it looks like this afternoon or tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. Should have time to be able to get that flight in, and then the flight going from American Samoa, I think, down to the Cook Islands. But both those flights will be at Samoa Airways and be on the 737-800 737-800. Let's see, Memphis. I'm guessing that's Delta 331 on Vatson. Where are you flying from? Or flying to? Memphis to, there. Be a fun flight though, Delta. Yeah.
Pilots deboarding starting.
Alright. Oh, okay. What is a KRIC? Richmond International. Cool. Memphis to Richmond. Alright, you have fun on that flight. I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Hey, thanks for the follow. 851 Pi Fly just at the end here of the stream. Thank you very much for that. I'll be on hopefully this evening doing a short flight, Samoa Airways. Either that or doing some of Pilot's Life, CRJ SkyWest. Hopefully I see you guys then. Until next time, either this evening or tomorrow. Take care and happy flying.